behalf of our family, we want to thank all of you for the prayers for our beloved mom, Nancy. We feel them, and we continue to believe that she feels them too. Our mom is a kind, faithful, loyal, fiercely loving woman of goodness and light. She is funny, spunky, and clever. She has grandchildren that adore her and crowd around her and cover her with kisses. She loves fun and adventure. She is a devoted friend. She is full of kindness and knowledge. Talk to her and you'll see.
The light is missing from our lives. Nancy is our mother. We are her children. She is our beacon. She holds fast to joy in all of life's circumstances. She chooses joy day after day, despite having already passed through great trials of pain and grief. We are always going to be merely human, just normal human people who need our mom. Mama, if you're listening, we need you to come home. We miss you.
Our mom is our heart and our home. She is 84 years old. Her health, her heart is fragile. She lives in constant pain. She is without any medicine. She needs it to survive. She needs it not to suffer. We too have heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media. As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please reach out to us. Mommy, if you are hearing this, you are a strong woman. You are God's precious daughter, Nancy. We believe and know that even in this valley, He is with you. Everyone is looking for you, Mommy, everywhere. We will not rest. Your children will not rest until we are together again. We speak to you every moment, and we pray without ceasing, and we rejoice in advance for the day that we hold you in our arms again. We love you, Mom.
Love you, Mom.
We love you, Mom. Stay strong.
We love you, Mom. We love you.
Okay, so obviously that was the Guthrie family. I want to play another video, Gabe. If we could get the video of the son last night, he gave the he just a plea to the kidnappers, the alleged kidnappers. So I want to make sure that we play that as well. Joining me is my guest, Dr. Curry Myers, America's leading criminologist in my mind. He's been on the show plenty of times before, so he's going to break this down with us. So, Gabe, if you could go to the next video of Cameron Guthrie in a plea last night, which we will discuss after the video, which is really crucial.
This is Cameron Guthrie. I'm speaking for the Guthrie family. Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom. We want to talk to you, and we are waiting for contact.
Okay, so now I'm joined with my guest, Dr. Curry Myers, America's leading criminologist. I mean, he's been the sheriff of a major city. He's been in law enforcement, federal law enforcement, state law enforcement, homicide detective. I mean, just absolutely insane. His resume is. Doc, just real quickly, I want to go through a lot of points in a very short period of time with you. Just give me your take and overall synopsis of how this case thus far has been handled. There's been a lot of criticism of the sheriff in the Tucson, Arizona area, and I don't know if that's for better or worse, quite frankly. But it did seem to me that that he could have done a better job sharing information, or perhaps he's holding back information intentionally. I don't know, but it seemed like, and this is a criticism that he's getting, that his press conferences haven't really led to much except circular nonsense. What's your take on that?
Well, it's a difficult case to. These cases are difficult to work. I mean, especially when you have somebody that's high profile because of her daughter who's with Fox News. So that's especially what makes it a high profile. So our prayers certainly are with them. From a law enforcement perspective, you never want to overshare anything regarding investigatory leads because there's only really three people who knew what occurred at
Sure.
the crime scene, and that's the victim, naturally, unless she was killed, without even knowing what happened. But the victim, the perpetrator, and God. That's why often homicide detectives, say we work for God, because He's one of the three that knows, what happened.
Man.
And so it's never very good to overshare any information. As a matter of fact, you want to probably have less. Um, at this point, you want to have less briefings that have occurred and not so much detail. To me, there has been an overshare of detail, actually, not an
Okay.
undershare. So, but you need to have the briefings occasionally, just so people know what your investigatory leads are and if there's any updates. Um, what we
That's
do
fair.
know in this case is blood was found on the front sidewalk, front porch area of the Guthrie home in the front. That's been confirmed by authorities. What we don't know is when that blood was put there. And what we don't know right now is whether or not it's Nancy's or not. So I'm going to make an assumption that they have already collected that evidence and trying to get DNA to prove it back to the the
Ap-
mom.
Apparently, Doc, they were able to confirm that as of last night.
Okay, so
So
that's if it was confirmed as Nancy Guthrie, uh, then that would tell us that it's hers. But what we don't know is when it was left there. It could have been left there 24 hours ago, but before uh, the the incident happened. We do have this is going to be a big technology case. So we have surveillance equipment at the residence showing the doorbell camera disconnected in the early morning. Now this is great evidence to say something bad happened because nobody's going to disconnect a doorbell camera. It was a Nest at 1:47 a.m. is when it was disconnected. This is on February 1st, and then her pacemaker, which also has technology that's generally linked to people's phones. It was disconnected about 20 to 30 minutes shortly after. So this is highly unusual. It's evidentiary, and you want to make sure that you're following up on the technology side pretty closely. So, based on the evidence of the disconnect, that's what tells us that this was bad actors or a bad actor that came into the house and took her. Now, there's going to be a lot of investigatory leads that have to happen, and digital forensic is going to be the main thing that they have to a challenge that they have to overcome and
okay.
try to establish better time lapse between that 1:30 a.m. to 3 a.m. to find out a little bit more information.
Okay, so they now New York Post has come out with a timeline. I want to go through some of these things with you when we get back from the break. We're not going to have enough time to do it then, but we're going to have to kind of go rapid fire because there has been so much stuff that has come to light, and I just want to get your take on it. Again, we're speaking to Dr. Curry Myers, a criminologist. He does great work. Savannah Guthrie, and actually she's with the Today Show. So she is well known figure. It's so crazy. I remember just her joy is infectious. I know she's a liberal. I don't care about her politics. I want to see her mom. I
Mhm.
want to see her mom get home safely. I want to see this family get some closure. This is just a horrendous and a weird case for me. I don't know about for you, Doc. I mean, you've got experience like crazy, so I want to make sure that we touch on that after the break. But this case just seems so abnormal. And I do want to say you made mention of too that perhaps the sheriff has shared too much information. I have heard other criminologists say that as well. A little bit too much information, unless you're going to lead the public in a direction in which they can help participate somehow, some way, some form, or smoke out the criminal. But I want to get into more of this after the break with Dr. Curry Myers. You guys stay tuned. Guys, listen, I appreciate you tuning in to the Carl Jackson Show. I'm sorry I was not able to record last night, but we had a family emergency that we're still dealing with, quite frankly. I felt like this case was so important that we did need to speak about it, and we are blessed enough to have Dr. Curry Myers as a frequent guest, even though sadly he comes on to talk about the most heinous of crimes, quite frankly, that we've seen in America over the last couple of years. I believe it has been since he's been coming on. But his knowledge is just absolutely amazing. He's also a professor as well of criminology, so we love to have him on. We love to have his input because this is a man that has literally been out in the field and has investigated some of the craziest cases you can imagine, and has gone undercover in some of the craziest cases you can imagine, which always kind of creeps me out. But anyway, his knowledge is extensive, and I want to make sure that you follow him on Substack. So we will give his information once we go back on the clock here. I want him to share where he can be found. And that way, you guys can, all things when it comes to crime in America, this is the guy that you want to hear from. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Please make sure you follow us on all things social media at Carl Jackson Show, at the Carl Jackson Show. And also, please subscribe, like, and share our podcast wherever you go to get your podcast. We would certainly appreciate that. All right, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get back to the program, por favor, Gabe, because the doc is short on time. Okay, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. Again, I'm joined with my guest here, Dr. Curry Myers. Doc, real quickly, tell the people where they can go to find you, to read your work, to watch you've got a radio show as well now. So tell people where they can go to find you.
My Substack is available. Now, all my published works I put on Substack. It's drcurrymyers.substack.com, or if they just Google, Dr. Curry Myers, everything will come up that I do. So research papers, policy papers, interviews, all those things, op-eds, anything that I produce is put on those. I do have a radio show. It's out of San Bernardino, but it's streamed nationwide on all your favorite platforms. It's called America's Criminologist with Dr. Curry Myers. It's on KMET in San Bernardino, right after the Dave Ramsey show. So and right before the Kevin McCullough show. So I'm trying to keep people from leaving uh, during those two important people that I fit in between. It's every Tuesday, America's Criminologist with Dr. Curry Myers.
All right. So, all right, Doc, I've literally probably have about 10 questions for
Mhm.
you that I'd
Sure.
like to go rapid fire in a very short period of time. So, let's get right to this. You made mention that obviously this is going to be a digital case. This case seems very weird to me, Doc. I mean, I can't even remember the last time that I've heard of a ransom case played out in the public like this. How usual or unusual is this, first off?
Well, the ransom part is what bothers me.
Okay.
It's extremely unusual for ransoms to be delivered in this manner. It was put out to a local station and TMZ, I think, at the same time with certain deadlines. This, what occurs when you see this, it's after the fact. There are a lot of people out there that take advantage of this kind of chaos to try to give notoriety. There's a lot of mental health issues that are out there. I'm wondering whether or not that's some sort of copycat situation where somebody's trying to take that the famous side of this and introduce themselves into it by getting involved in the ransom.
Okay.
Most ransom notes, I would say it's close to 75% are handled to directly to the family and or to police. It does not go to the media. Now, there have been some serial killers in time that have uh, uh, BTK is a perfect example out of Wichita, Kansas, that actually gave information to the media and not necessarily to the police.
Mhm.
So it does occur, but it's unusual. So about
Okay.
75% of the time you're going to see this, where it's going to go directly to the family because you want to prove proof of life. That's
Sure.
the first thing that law enforcement and the family is going to do is
And
prove
that's what
that
they've been asking
is
for.
is that is that proof of life. So you got to then you got to validate the authenticity of the document that has been sent in, and you got to avoid contaminating evidence because this has been shared with the media. Who knows who touched it, because there's valuable DNA on a piece of paper that could go somewhere. Depends on whether it's how it's written, whether it's handwritten or on its computer, but somebody's
Okay.
going to touch it wrong. And even if they're careful, they may they may have DNA on an envelope, on a stamp. There's all kinds of things that could occur in which they put it in. And time is of the essence, Carl. I mean, the golden window here is about 48 to 72 hours.
Yeah, and we're on day 6. The first timeline that this perpetrator or perpetrators or deadline was Thursday, which was
Yeah.
yesterday. I'm not sure if that was Mountain Time, Pacific Time, whatever Eastern. I don't know, but it was supposed to be 5 p.m. yesterday. Apparently, they said or Monday. I mean, that seems weird to me.
Mhm.
They asked for money in Bitcoin, but now they're not communicating as much. The family has been asking for proof of life. So these are just some of the latest things as my phone blanks out. So I want to go over these real quick. So here's the blood found splattered on Nancy's front stoop. Well, that's the mother, Nancy Guthrie, was confirmed to be hers. You guys have already heard the news that she literally has a pacemaker synced to her iPhone. So at some point, she walked far enough from her iPhone for that to be unsynced. But there's an extensive timeline, no movements that night. She vanished. When she vanished, included a 40-minute period during which Nancy Guthrie may have been abducted. So apparently, Doc, literally, this whatever occurred on her property took place for around 40 minutes. There are still no suspects in the case. Nobody, including Savannah's brother-in-law, is being ruled out as a possible suspect. You mentioned this. Her home security camera detected a person moving around 2 a.m. Sunday, but did not record the video. And I think you're right. I think it was 1:47, but they didn't leave the property till almost 2:30 a.m. in the morning, which is insane. What is this is just so crazy to me. What does that suggest? 40 minutes on that property, apparently abducting Nancy Guthrie. What does that say, Doc? Because I'm thinking if I'm kidnapping her, I want to be in and out. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense either. And so it makes you wonder whether or not two things, whether or not they were also doing some sort of robbery and taking that time to go through and try to find jewels, cash, those kinds of important things that they may be able to use. That's what it may be. Then there's also something else to consider that law enforcement cannot, um, uh, you know, they have to consider this considerably, and that is that when you get older, there's a lot of trips and falls that occur. And when you have a trip and fall, that means you could fall on your head. You could have some sort of brain bleed that occurs. So it depends on when this injury occurred. And as you go in, she could have been in a state of being lost and
Mm.
wandered around and wandered out on her own and then walked somewhere and then could have been overcome by some of the elements. You can't discount that. So, law enforcement, on top of looking for the fact that somebody may have kidnapped her, they can't discount the fact that this is something else, and again, the ransom note is somebody that's got a mental illness issue and has totally made the thing up. So that
And
means,
there was one hoaxer out there, so they've
yeah,
already arrested one
right.
hoaxer.
And where there's
But
one, there's more, because once
wow.
again, anytime it goes into a huge case where there's media exposure, there's just some, quite frankly, there's people that are has major mental illness, that you know take advantage of these things. So, but the problem is law enforcement resources are, they got to look into that, and they got to spend time trying to identify the ransom note and the validity of the ransom note. But they also have to look at other probabilities. And if I were there, one of the probabilities would be it was a trip and fall, hurt herself bad, and in that period she walked out and succumb to the elements. So they've got to do a hard target search, for blocks around that house to see if she may be there. Because in most abductions, you got a 76% chance that you're probably going to be murdered within the first 3 hours of that case. Now, elderly victims have been a little bit different, but that's a 5 to 7 day critical for life recovery, because sometimes the elderly are not put into that same position. But
Let me read this headline, Doc. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I see this on the New York Post. I'm assuming this is a new headline. Nancy Guthrie, quote unquote, safe but scared and aware of kidnappers' chilling demands, ransom note claims. So I don't know if this is, yeah, I don't even have time to go into the details of this, but I see that this broke on the New York Post. So apparently, this is the latest Nancy Guthrie. Um Nancy Guthrie, safe but scared and aware of kidnappers' chilling demands. Nancy Guthrie's purported kidnappers claimed in a ransom note to TMZ that the 84-year-old TV host mom is safe but scared and knows exactly what chilling demands are being made for her return. Are you buying that, Doc?
boy, that's just another turn in the case that just is, making my head spin. So there's
This is
there's
insane.
something there's something that is not doesn't fit very
Yeah.
well, Hill. So that's it. There's there's a lot of things that have to be considered. I still don't discount that maybe she had an injury. Maybe somebody helped her with that injury. Maybe she if
Do
she
you think
felt
it could be?
if she felt so bad, Carl, maybe she wanted to potentially end her life. There's all and have somebody disconnect the nest. There's all kinds of things that law enforcement has to consider in these kinds of cases, especially when it takes this turn. I'm very glad she's been found.
Well, she's not
Very.
been found. They're claiming that this is another ransom note.
Oh, another
So
Nancy. Okay, okay.
yeah, so another note, not saying that she's been found, but another note. And I mean, she was literally the reason why they knew to check on her is because she didn't show up to church. She went to church that evening. Just
Yeah.
real quickly, Doc, we have less than 20 seconds. Could this be somebody that knows her?
Well, yeah. I mean, generally, this isn't an area that's easy to get to. It spiders around on the roads. Again, the laws of probability, as she probably knew the person that
Okay.
took her or is a friend of somebody associated with that.
Okay. We'll have Dr. Curry Myers back on next week to assess this. Thank you, Doc.
My pleasure. Stay safe.
All right. All right, so that was Dr. Curry Myers, and again, actually, he wrote a fantastic Substack, and unfortunately, just due to he was supposed to come on last night, but unfortunately, due to the circumstances in my own family that we're dealing with, we just weren't able to make that happen. So we wanted to make sure that we got this interview out with Dr. Curry Myers this morning. However, he will be back with us on Monday, and we will follow up with all of the latest on this particular case, as well as his latest Substack, because we want to talk about what's happening with this, the weaponization of migration. He wrote a fantastic Substack on that, and touched on Peter Schweitzer, who's we all know Peter Schweitzer, Clinton Cash. The guy has been on the money with many of his books. His latest books talks about the just how China and Mexico and I forget the other nation that seem to be colluding by bringing migrants in order to undermine and take over America. And so we want to discuss that. So, Doc, I appreciate you joining us, and we will see you. We will see you next week. All right, Gabe, let me know when he's up. All right. So that was Dr. Curry Myers. Now I want to go on to where is this? Erupted in response to left wing media using children. Okay. Let's start with cut number 27. This will be a separate podcast, Gabe. And let's open it up with cut number 27 if we could. Yep.
Attorney General Mayor Fry and law enforcement officials about increasing coordination in a lawful way between the county jails and ICE to avoid public safety threats being released back in the community. While we had our differences, one thing was clear: we all committed to public safety for all who live in the Twin Cities. We have made significant progress under the direction of President Trump, working with state and local officials here in Minnesota, and I expect that to increase in the coming weeks. We continue to have discussions. I'll have discussions this afternoon. We currently have an unprecedented number of counties communicating with us now and allowing ICE to take custody of illegal aliens before they hit the streets. Unprecedented cooperation. And I'll say it again. This is efficient, requires only 1 or 2 officers to assume custody of a criminal alien target rather than 8 or 10 officers going into the community and arresting that public safety threat. This frees up more officers to arrest or remove criminal aliens. More officers taking custody of criminal aliens directly from the jails means less officers on the street doing criminal operations. This is smart law enforcement, not less law enforcement. It's safer for the community, safer for the officers, and safer for the alien. This coordination also makes it far more safe for the Twin Cities.
Okay, so now Tom Homan and the president are getting a lot of pushback because people are asking, are they a little weak? Are they pulling back or what have you? And guys, I got to tell you, I was a little frustrated because I'm like, whoa, what's going on? That was my initial reaction. But I believe, listen, I will say this, and I tweeted this out as well. I always have believed that Tom Homan was a better face for ICE and frankly for the Department of Homeland Security than Kristi Noem is. And listen, I think Kristi Noem has been doing a decent job, but I think this is where the Republicans have gotten in trouble, because honestly, I think we can actually deport more people under Tom Homan than we can under Kristi Noem. And I'll tell you why. Kristi Noem, in my opinion, is too much about political theater. And as long as she's doing the job, I didn't mind so much. But I do know this, whether you like it or not, we're at a point in time where Republicans are looking at the midterm elections. I know this is frustrating. It makes me so mad. This is why I say, I don't care what anyone else says. You want to get, when you come into office as a president, and this is what President Trump did. You want to get together with your party and you want to get as much accomplished in the first 100 days, 6 months max, as possible. You don't want things to linger. You want to get things codified into law, that which you can get codified into law as quickly as possible. I'm a little frustrated that Republicans didn't get all of the tariffs settled, even though we've gotten a lot of revenue from the tariffs. I want some of this stuff settled so that there's a stability. I'm frustrated that we're still talking about the SAVE Act. Why has that not been codified? Voter ID is a huge deal. It is a big deal. It is a smart deal. It's to make sure that people aren't going around and cheating and stealing elections. This is common sense. And I do believe that the federal government has the power, even though I understand it is a state issue. But when it comes to federal elections, if we're going to count your electoral vote, we need to make sure that your votes are legitimate. And that means the SAVE Act. All of this stuff is interconnected. Circling back to Tom Homan, let me tell you why. Just listening to Tom Homan, why I believe that this will be more effective. Remember, I said Kristi Noem is. I don't want to completely diss her because I don't think that she was doing a horrible job. I just think Tom Homan will do a better job because he's done it for 40 years and this is his wheelhouse. Now, I like Stephen Miller. I don't like that people are throwing shade at Stephen Miller. He's had some excellent plans to secure the border and that he's recommended to the president, and they have worked. But what they were missing in the Trump administration, and that's why President Trump had to step in. Remember, there is political conduct, if you will, and then there's also political theater. So there's what you're actually getting done politically, so to speak, and then there's the narrative. And unfortunately, the left was winning on the narrative. And frankly, I thought that the President Trump could have won the narrative sooner and more quickly had he invoked the Insurrection Act to calm the storm in Minneapolis. We saw Renee Good shot. We saw Alex Preddy shot. And frankly, in my mind, in my opinion, both of those were justifiable shootings. And Alex Preddy didn't have a gun on him at the time he took the gun away. Guys, those police officers couldn't hear anything. So you're acting as if you were in that stressful situation. People blowing whistles in your ear to the point that you can't hear. You're being distracted because the local police officers had been directed by the mayor, by the governor, or primarily by the local mayor. Hey, don't interfere in federal law enforcement operations. And so they have no protection, nobody watching their back. Alex Preddy, Renee Good should have never been allowed to interfere in law enforcement operations or to get that close to ICE officers. So the narrative, even though I think those shootings were justifiable, the left started winning the narrative. And so you've got a lot of people that loved what President Trump was doing, but the Republicans started losing the narrative because that was the tactic. That was the goal of the left. And yes, they wanted to distract from the fraud in Minneapolis, but also they wanted to distract from the fact that the Democrat Party does, on illegal aliens. They rely on illegal aliens, illegal immigrants, in order to pad their numbers in elections. And this is why the left are going back crazy. So Tom Homan comes in and he gets rid of the political theater, or at least he plays the political theater well because he's taken more seriously. Listen, this is what we want to do. We want to come in and we want to work with the jails. Guys, if President Trump's administration, if ICE, and now they're working together, all right, in order to arrest people, they're working together. The Border Patrol agents and ICE are working as one, under one leader. They're now working under Tom Homan, under Tom Homan's leadership. So now you have enforcement operations that are going on. They're going smoother. They're going into jails now. They're going into prisons. And guys, I got to tell you, I know the media has said, and we've seen it, there's videos out there. I won't play right now, but Mayor Jacob Frey keeps pushing back, just being defiant, if you will. I'm starting to wonder if Mayor Frey is performing political theater because, guys, remember, there's still a fraud case going on. There's still fraud being investigated by Governor Tim Walz. We suspect he's probably guilty of that. We suspect Mayor Jacob Frey is guilty of that, or at least complicit. AG Keith Ellison, we know he is because we have him on audio or on video, basically a quid pro quo to, I believe it was one of the Somalis. Hey, listen, Listen, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. When it comes to campaign donations, I'll look the other way when it comes to this crime. So we know that AG Keith Ellison is allegedly guilty. I have to say that just in case. I don't want stuff to come back on the Salem News Channel, obviously. So I just want to be I just want to be safe on that end. But nonetheless, we know that these people are dirty. You don't need. Tom Homan has drawn down 700 ICE agents, or people are like, oh my God, they're getting weak. No, they're getting efficient. You don't need, if you have cooperation from local law enforcement, which they have now, you don't need, remember, those 700 or the 1,000 additional ICE agents were just brought in a couple or so weeks ago. They brought in, I think, a few hundred initially, and they kept bulking up because they were getting so much resistance in which they don't have anymore. So this is extremely important. So you don't need that many. If 2 agents can go to a jail, or a prison and say, we're going to be walking this criminal out of the prison facility or the jail, then obviously you don't need several hundred to do that job. So they're being more efficient. And so what Kristi Noem was doing, and I don't necessarily knock her for this. The problem is, I think this operation has taken too long in a sense and played out in the media. So you had political theater, but you had Kristi Noem, which I agree with this tactic. You put everything on camera, right? And then what you do is you have illegals that are here that came under the Biden administration, I believe, that will self-deport. We've already had over 2 million deportations that have occurred under the Trump administration just in the first year alone. That's phenomenal. So they're seeing what's taking place. You have the Department of Homeland Security literally offering illegal immigrants that entered during the Biden years, hey, listen, we'll pay for your flight home. We'll give you some cash. You'll be able to come back in legally, or at least try to come back in legally. No harm, no foul. So many people have taken the United States up on that offer. And so I believe what Kristi Noem, Greg Bavino were trying to do is say, all right, let's put all of this on camera. Let's scare the bejeebers out of people. More people will self-deport. That is true. But also, with Tom Homan communicating effectively, we're not getting away from the broader deportation efforts when it comes to our ICE agents. We just want them to do their job. Their job is to go into the jails and into the prisons, take out the illegal alien criminal element, and deport them. That's exactly what they're doing. They just made it easier. We'll be back. Hey guys, you are listening to the Carl Jackson Show. Again, this is your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. If you guys have any comments, we'd love to hear from you. Listen, this is probably not going to be a regular time for me, even though I love recording in the mornings, but this is probably not going to be a regular time. But I was unable to record last night due to a family emergency. So I wanted to make sure that I got online today and talked to you and had Dr. Kareem Myers on. We actually had him scheduled for a longer period of time last night to talk about the kidnapping or abduction of Savannah Guthrie's mom, Nancy Guthrie, and more news has broke. That case is just weird. It is just weird. So anyway, we will follow up with him on Monday with all of the latest details, because we are literally still getting some incoming detail as we interviewed with him this morning. And also, we will be talking about on Monday, weaponizing migration. We'll try to get Peter Schweitzer on in the future as well to discuss his book on this. But Doc had a great take. Doc had a great take on this as well. I'm just kind of looking at some of the clips. Okay. I sent some that I think I might need. All right, we can. What were officially the best? Okay. For Americans retract, yeah. Okay. All right, we can get back to this. Actually, let's start with come in with cut 28. Come in with cut 28, please. All right, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. Let's go. Okay. We will get I want to play a video for you. So Gabe, just let me know when we have it up. Tim Walz this is why I'm telling you.
It's been a week since I met with Tom Homan. Expectations have not changed. This force must leave Minnesota. The state of Minnesota and the professionals, nonpartisan judiciary must do the investigations into the shootings and other abuses of Minnesota's human rights. And this all-out assault on Minnesota across all of state government and all across life must stop. None of this is normal. None of this is okay. None of this makes Minnesota any safer. None of this adheres to the values of this country. All it does is cause terror and trauma.
Okay, so here's the weird thing. This guy is a buffoon. We know he's a buffoon. What he's doing is extremely dangerous because it puts the life of our law enforcement officers at risk. And I know there's some nut jobs out there. Well, they deserve it. Well, they're kidnapping children. They're not kidnapping children. They're enacting the laws that the congressmen that you voted for in Washington, D.C., they're enacting the laws. They're enforcing the laws of the laws that were enacted by Congress. All right. So take the issue up with Congress. But Tim Walz is very dumb. His rhetoric is still very dangerous. But I got to tell you guys at this point, I know this is a different take than you've been hearing from others, but I believe that this is political theater on their parts right now. Unless I hear something different, like they're stopping Tom Homan and ICE agents. They're stopping them from literally collecting prisoners out of jail cells and prison cells. Then to me, this is political theater to basically make sure their base aren't going completely ape tardo. So as crazy as that sounds, I have no proof of that, but I'm like, why would you come out and give these press conferences and still, in my opinion, endanger the lives of ICE and Customs and Border Patrol agents? I mean, they're wacky, they're crazy. They may kind of believe this stuff. I think part of it is they just want to turn the guns on Trump, and I think they want to distract from the fraud that they're either involved in or complicit in. Again, Governor Tim Walz, Mayor Jacob Frey, AG Keith Ellison. So these are some things to consider, but I almost wonder if this is political theater on the part of Tim Walz. I don't think I did an effective job of explaining Kristi Noem why I think Tom Homan is better at this job than Kristi Noem. Guys, let me just be real with you when it comes to Governor Kristi Noem. I will never vote for her as president. I appreciate Kristi Noem and the role that President Trump has put her in or placed her in. But if you go back to Kristi Noem's record as when she was a congresswoman, check her voting record. Now, listen to me. For those of you that happen to be conservatives like I am in the political space, people can sound really good. In Kristi Noem's case, she can sound really good. She can look really good. It doesn't mean that it's actual conviction. If you go back and check her voting record, she had a horrible voting record as a Republican congresswoman. I mean, she was basically a Democrat. Also, when it came to COVID, the COVID lockdowns, she tried to take a lot of credit for making sure her state stayed open. She beat DeSantis at this. She beat this. No, she didn't. Her state legislature had to fight against her to make sure that their state stayed open. And the only reason it did is because they forced her hand. Go back and check the history. Go back and check the records. And also, when it came to the trans movement, boys competing with males, she fooled me. She came on Tucker Carlson's program when he was on Fox, and she talked about, listen, we had to make sure that we were doing this by the book, by the law, so that it could not be reversed, so on, etc. And then I'm like, okay, I guess that could make sense that they weren't just going about it willy-nilly, and Republicans weren't just, oh, we got to do this, doing something, a quick fix, a quick patch, and then it just blows up in their face. And come to find out, no, she was, she kind of had some donors that were polite, if you will, to the trans movement and so on, et cetera. So Kristi Noem, in my opinion, she is not a true conservative. She is a Republican. And I don't like to use the term rhino. The truth of the matter is they're just Republicans. There's some good Republicans. There's some moderate Republicans. There's conservative Republicans. But there are many Republicans that are spineless and or without conviction that'll just play the part. Now, let me share this. Where did my stack of brilliance here? All right, here it is in my formerly fingerprinted fingertips. I want to go to this town hall column. Excellent job at townhall.com. But they wrote up a column a couple of days ago. Democrats' demands for DHS funding are here. They would destroy ICE as we know it. So these are the demands. I also want to talk about the Jim Crow 2.0. Chuck U. Schumer, give you a little bit of history as far as that is concerned, because that's absolutely crazy. But all of this stuff is interconnected. Democrats are scared to lose illegal immigrants, are scared to lose the battle with illegal immigrants. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Voter ID, illegal immigration, it's all the same thing when it comes to Democrats. They want illegals to be able to vote in their states, in their primaries, in their elections, so that they retain power. If they don't have illegals voting, they don't retain power. And even in so-called blue states, even in so-called blue cities, it'll be much harder to win if they're not allowed to cheat. So this was a column from Town Hall. Now this is talking about DHS funding again. So here's what Democrats want to do. They listed 10 things, 10 demands for the ICE funding. And guys, listen, do not be inactive when it comes to just calling your House and Senate. Guys, it works. They don't hear from you guys enough. When you blow up their phones old school, it works. We just don't do it. We don't do it. I know a lot of people, you'll hear a lot of people say that doesn't work. That no. It works when it's done. But believe it or not, it isn't done much. I try to call as frequently as I can to, hey, I don't want this congressman. I don't want this senator voting on this. You try to be nice and as cordial as possible, but firm. All right. You got to do that. It matters. And if we can do it in large enough numbers, it works. So here's what they want to do. What the Democrats want to do to kind of slowly defund or weaken the Department of Homeland Security. And I got to be honest with you guys, I've been torn about this to some degree, but I don't want the left dicing up the Department of Homeland Security now that Trump is using it effectively to remove illegals from the United States of America. But the Department of Homeland Security was formed after 9/11, and I think it's just been a big bloated bureaucracy that's kind of been a catch-all. It's been bigger. It's grown bigger, I believe, than the FBI and DOJ, which is absolutely, and CIA, which is absolutely insane to me. And it encompasses a lot of things. If we can cut down the size and scope of the federal government, which President Trump is making it easier to fire some federal government employees, cutting down some of these bureaucracies. I would still like to see bureaucracies leave, all right, or abolished, but I like the DHS for this purpose. So here's what the left wants to do. They want to end the use of probable cause administrative warrants. This is when it comes to illegals, and instead require officers to seek a judicial warrant to conduct operations. Guys, look at all of the pushback that President Trump has been getting. I have a column somewhere. I'll have to look for it later. I talked about this before in the podcast. You know why Barack Obama was able to be called the deporter in chief? Because there's a process that you have for illegal immigrants that cross the border. There is a process. They do get due process per se. It's just not the same process as an American citizen would get. So, okay, this is the person. We identify this person. We let the courts know who that person is. It's a simple process. They're gone. All right. But you have to go through that process. You don't have to go through a long drawn out court case, so on, etc. They have to show up. You don't have to do any of that. All right. So this is so you have to understand that. So federal agents would be entirely handicapped by this measure, according to Town Hall, and it would slow deportations to a near stop. So this is what the left is trying to do. 2 and 3. Two of their demands require that ICE agents demask and display their names on their uniforms. All right, so this is what the left wants. Guys, I don't want to see ICE agents in masks or Border Patrol agents in masks, but here's the deal. I see a bunch of anti-ICE and Customs and Border Patrol antagonizers, obstructionists, saboteurs, if you will, agitators that are wearing masks. So tell them to take off their mask. The reason why they want ICE agents without their mask is so that they can dox them, so that they can know who they are, so that they can go after their families and threaten their kids, threaten their wives, threaten their moms and dads, grandmothers. No, I'm sorry. I don't like this, but sadly, because the left has become so violent, because they are a party of violence, it has become necessary. So they want to again, they want ICE agents to be dismasked and to display their names on their uniforms, which is basically unmasking them. All right. Another thing that they will have to do, and we'll have to go through another segment here because I want to make sure that I get all of these in. Number 4, there's 10 of them. Number 4, another thing that the left wants to do when it comes to their demands for funding the Department of Homeland Security. They want to restrict officers from conducting operations at sensitive locations. This could include medical facilities, schools, childcare facilities, and churches. I see how some people would be a little iffy on that, but here's 2 key locations listed by the Democrats are polling places and courts. Why would they want to restrict ICE operations at polling places and courts? Because they want illegals to vote. It's as simple as that. You're listening to the Carl Jackson Show. We will be back momentarily. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in to the Carl Jackson Show. Please like, share, and subscribe to All Things Social Media, our YouTube page. We could really use help building that up. That is so crucial. But we're on YouTube, Spotify, Rumble, Apple, you name it. Anywhere you go to get your podcast, The Carl Jackson Show is where you can go to find us. The Carl Jackson Show. Also, Salem Podcast Network. You can find us there as well. The Carl Jackson Show. But please like, share, and subscribe. You take that extra bit of time, that'll help us expand our reach, and hopefully we can create some more trans conservatives. So that's our goal. That's our goal here. All right, we want to convert people first and foremost to Christ, right? Because that is the source of our objective truth. And then once you know who God is, once you know the God of the Bible, once you understand how important truth is and objective truth is, then you can fight for this nation, I think, in a more efficient and convicting way. And so those are some of the things that we are committed to here at the Carl Jackson Show. I'm trying to find something real quick before we go right back on air, and because I think this is so crucial. I know this is Black History Month. I don't give a flip about Black History Month. I don't want a Black History Month. Call me whatever name you want. I just want Americans to celebrate American things. I realize there are subcultures, but we're all one culture. We're all one culture, really, and so we have to. We're an American culture. We're an American family, and those are the things that should be lifted up, in my opinion. The more you make things about race, I don't. Are we going to have a Latino History Month? Are we going to have a American Indian History Month? It's just insane to me. I understand that blacks were unique and that we were made citizens by way of force, if you will. Our ancestors were. But what Satan intended for evil, God has turned to good. And blacks here in the United States do far better than any blacks anywhere else in the entire world. I am trying to find. I'm sorry, guys. I had. Let me see if it's. Yeah. I had a listing of the GOP history that I wanted to share with you guys. I may have to do that. Excuse me. Another time, because we're just running out of time here, and I don't want to run you guys off. Party. Man, I used to be able to find my old writings in here. I'll have to look for it later. I should have had that ready to go. Okay. Anyway, let's get back to it. Gabe, if I could real quick, I may need to check on I'm sorry guys, I'm just trying to make sure that I have the proper videos up for you in case I need to play them. I don't need that one. Oh, Gabe, I will need, it is the third to last one. I don't know if, how do I do this? I sent it to you. I don't know. Oh, actually, there's two that I need. I don't know what numbers these are, frankly. But let me send them. I'll send it to you right now. That one. And I want to play those right off the bat. And there's another. Oh, I'm looking in the wrong place. Sorry, guys. Just bear with me one moment here. And this one. And then we're done. And that one. Oops. If I would send it. All right. Okay, this is Monday. 3 and 2. All right, let's play my buddy coming in, and then we'll go to 3. All right.
So, Leader Schumer, this talk about election security has revived discussions of the SAVE Act, which you have said you oppose. Proponents of it say that it's, to have ID, you have to prove U.S. citizenship to be able to vote. Though some of the claims they make, to be clear, are overstated. We know there's not widespread election fraud. But polling does suggest, there's a new Pew Research poll, that 95% of Republicans, but also 71% of Democrats like this idea. So why do you not?
It's Jim Crow 2.0. And I called it Jim Crow 2.0, and the right wing went nuts all over the internet. That's because they know it's true. What they're trying to do here is the same thing that was done in the South for decades to prevent people of color from voting. For instance, if you change, you're a woman who got married and changed your last name, you won't be able to show ID and you'll be discriminated against. If you can't find a birth certificate or a proper ID, you'll be discriminated against. This is vicious and nasty. And I said to our Republican colleagues, it will not pass the Senate. You will not get a single Democratic vote in the Senate. We're not reviving Jim Crow all over the country.
Okay, so apparently Democrats are into Jim Crow. I'm going to debunk this nonsense momentarily. Let's play that next video. This is Harry Enten of CNN, just breaking down how many people across the spectrum, Democrats, Republicans, blacks, whites, Latinos, that are in favor of voter ID. The only reason you wouldn't want voter ID is because you want your party to cheat. Chuck U. Schumer, I will address his stupid Jim Crow 2.0 comment momentarily. But first, let's go to this video of Harry Enten on CNN. Por favor, Gabe.
The American people are with Nicki Minaj, because what are we talking about here? So take a look here. Favor voter ID to vote. Look, I got all this polling on the screen going back since 2018. You'll notice on all of it, it's all north of 75%, 76%, 76%, 76%, 81%, and then 83% in the last year of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj. They favor photo ID to be able to vote.
What about by party? What's the party breakdown?
Yeah, normally you might expect, hey, there'd be a big divide by party with Republicans really for it and Democrats really against it. But not really here. I mean, just take a look here. Favor photo ID to vote. You got 95% of Republicans, pretty much all of them, but even 71% of Democrats favor photo ID to vote. So again, Nicki Minaj posting that on X, and what you see is that the American people, actually, it's not really all that controversial. The American people are with Nicki Minaj, whether they are Republican Or even if they are Democrats, we're talking about 7 in 10 Democrats agreeing with Nicki Minaj that you, in fact, should show a photo ID to vote.
What's the racial breakdown?
Okay, what's the racial breakdown on this, right? Because I think a lot of people make the argument that people of color, non-white Americans, have a harder time procuring a photo ID to vote. But even here, take a look here, favorite photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it, 82% of Latino, 76% of black Americans favor it. So the bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country. A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country. It is not controversial by party, and it is not controversial by race. The vast majority of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj that, in fact, you should have a photo ID to be able to vote.
So something of a non-controversy, in other words.
That's very good. The alliteration of Mr. John Berman, that Harvard education, paying off once again.
Harold, and thank you very
you
much.
That's okay. So this is hilarious, guys. This is just common sense, right? The only reason all of these people overwhelmingly that say they're in favor of that say they are in favor of voter ID. The other ones are too scared to say it, or they want to cheat, or perhaps they are the people that have been cheating, because it makes no sense. Frankly, if you're on the left and you distrust the Republican Party, you should want voter ID. If you're on the right and you distrust the Democrat Party, then you should want voter ID. So everybody should want voter ID, because if you believe that there is some cheating going on, we want to make sure that we rectify that. You need voter ID, for alcohol, you need voter ID for cigarettes, you need voter ID to fly, you need voter ID typically to vote, you need voter ID to get into an Uber, you need voter ID so people know who the heck you are. So why wouldn't we want to know who the heck you are when you go to vote? That makes no sense. And comparing this to Jim Crow 2.0, guys, first off, let's just give you a quick history. I'm not going to go into the entire history. I will later on this month in honor of Black History Month, which I can't stand, but I will just give you the history of the Republican Party once we do that. But it was the Democrat Party that formed the KKK in order to terrorize white and black Republicans alike during the Reconstruction era. It was the Democrat Party that perpetuated Jim Crow in the South. It was the Republican Party that fought against lynchings with Republican Leonidas Dyer. All right, so it was the Republican Party that passed the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, giving slaves citizenship, giving slaves or freedmen at the time, giving them the right, ending slavery, giving slaves citizenship, and then eventually giving freedmen at that point the right to vote. Republicans did all of that. All the Democrat Party has done is said, listen, let me give you welfare. Let me give you all of these government checks because we want you to be perpetually dependent on the government rather than dependent on God and your God-given abilities to go out there and crush it and make a living. That's what the Democrat Party wants you to do. So again, Jim Crow South, Democrat Party. Oh, Carl, well, they flipped. They flipped in the 60s. Guys, if you're dumb enough to believe a party that had existed for nearly 100 years, where literally whites were hanged as well alongside blacks, a party that started to end slavery in America and to end polygamy in America at the time. If you think that party that fought and died for 100 years all of a sudden flipped and became the racist party, honestly, your IQ is a little low. Or you're just naive as all get out. There were 26, I believe, senators that didn't want Democratic senators or that are in question when it comes to the party flipping. And it's just not the case. There was one Democrat that became a Republican during that era where they said, okay, Democrats flip. No, it was one. Strom Thurmond. He was the only one. He was a racist. He flipped to being a Republican. The other 25 racist senators remained in the Democrat Party. So there was never any big switch, never any big flip. Now, having said that, this is why I say all of this stuff is interconnected. All right. Now, getting back to this article from Town Hall, the demands of from the Democrats what they would like to do as far as DHS funding is concerned. I don't want the DHS funding in the hands of Democrats. Guys, I know that's crazy to say. I'm sorry to say this. I understand that Congress has to fund the DHS, and frankly, they have all the way through 2029, I believe. So I don't even know why Republicans are letting them get away with this, playing this game, except that Republicans are weak and they lack conviction. And this is so annoying. Republicans, if you want to win the battle now. And guess what? All this stuff you're sweating, the narrative, oh my God, we're going to look bad. We're going to look evil. We're going to look like we don't like Latinos and so on. We don't like brown people. America is going to forget about it next week because we're about to take on Iran. This is how it works. Be strong, be courageous. Now, another requirement that the left wants, they want to stop racial profiling and to specifically in the practice of officers targeting jobs and locations used by a higher number of illegals. While the demand is vague to a point of being near meaningless, it will presumably restrict ICE from conducting operations similar to the mass roundup of 51 Venezuela gang members in San Antonio last year. Also in Colorado of Tren de Aragua. Guys, sometimes racial profiling is good for your health, good for your safety. I'm not a softie here. I'll explain that one a little later. Number 6, they want to expand the oversight of Congress into Homeland Security. This includes extending the training time of officers and instituting a mandatory probationary period for officers who are involved in a use of force incident that would essentially limit the number of officers available to be on the streets. So Democrats also want all evidence to be shared with state and local jurisdictions so that they may prosecute what they deem to be excessive use of force. No, I want the separation of powers to remain. We have a federal government, we have a state government, we have a local government, we have executive branch, legislative branch, judicial branch. It needs to remain that way. 7, Democrats also are requiring federal agents to seek consent from state and local officials before conducting mass operations. If they had done that in Minneapolis, what would have happened? All of the illegals would have been outed by Fry and Walz. 8, Democrats want to open up a pipeline to sue Homeland Security for any perceived violations of detention standards. No, because then AOC will be suing the DHS all the time. 9, Democrats are also seeking for DHS to implement body cams for all officers. Hey, that's a good thing. I think that only helps the officers. I wasn't for that initially back in the day. I am now. Finally, Democrats will prevent ICE from working as a paramilitary police that would standardize uniforms away from a paramilitary style and use and equipment use. So they don't want them to look scary, and they don't want them to look scary. This is absolute nonsense. It's political theater, and Republicans simply should not fall for this. We need ICE. We need the Border Patrol agents, and thank God Tom Homan has taken over. Guys, until next time, do not grow weary, doing good. God bless every single one of you. I appreciate you tuning in this morning. Sorry I wasn't able to make it last night. We will see you on Monday evening. God bless you guys.